Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger was interviewed by the special counsel's office yesterday as part of the investigation into 2020 election interference. A source tells NBC News special counsel Jack Smith was not present at that interview in Atlanta. Raffensperger was central in denying the Trump team's attempts to overturn now President Biden's win in Georgia. In a statement after the interview, Raffensperger's office said, quote, failed candidates and their enablers have peddled false narratives about our elections for personal gain for a long time, and the voters of Georgia are not buying. Again, that's the Republican Secretary of State in Georgia who stood in the way of Donald Trump trying to flip the election there. Meanwhile, an election worker in Arizona's third largest county has quit, citing a failure by her department to protect her from intimidation and attacks to her reputation. Geraldine Roll, the former elections director for Pinal County, accused the department in her resignation email of bending to a, quote, faction of the Republican Party, adding the department lacks impartiality and common sense. NBC News reports her resignation is the latest in a string of departures within the county. According to an April survey at NYU's Brennan Center for Justice, 30% of local election officials surveyed say they had been personally harassed, abused, or threatened for their work as an elections official. So, John, there's two separate stories there, obviously. That harassment continues in the state of Arizona, by the way. You have one election official, again, a Republican, now suing Kari Lake for defamation for her continued attacks on the vote there. But let's go back to Georgia. Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State there, obviously a key player in what they're looking at, not just from the special counsel's office and Jack Smith, but what the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, is expected to begin talking about later this summer.
Yeah, and it's worth remembering that we've all sort of shorthanded what Jack Smith is doing as the January 6th investigation, but it's not just about the riot and what led to the violence at the Capitol, but rather the election interference probe, that he's looking into that too, which we know, of course, is also happening in Georgia. And Raffensperger, we've all heard that perfect phone call, as Donald Trump put it, where Trump was trying to push Raffensperger to find the exact number of votes he needed to overcome Joe Biden's win. But it is also a reminder here. This is a week where the Supreme Court delivered a victory for voting rights, tossing out a fringe right-wing theory that led to the idea of a state legislature putting a set of fake electors forward, trying to overturn the will of the public, one of the schemes that Trump and his team looked at in 2020. That's a win. That's a good thing. But these people who are protecting the safety of our elections in this country, and that's an elected official like Brad Raffensperger, but it also means poll workers, a lot of them volunteers or lowly paid. These are the folks who stood in the breach in 2020 and stood firm, and some of those who held the line and prevented Trump and his team from trying to overturn the election. But there are also people who are still very much the target of harassment and threat right now that we have said. So we've heard recounts of these in the 2022 midterms. And I've talked to state officials who say they're having trouble be able to recruit people to work at the polls, to work in election security roles for ahead of 2024, because they're so fearful, especially if Trump's at the top of the ticket again, those threats may return.